Hey, welcome to the so-called deal special, as I've been calling it. Was going to be the end of the world special, and we were going to announce that we're not all dead. But they came to a deal, or
was it a great deal?
No, it wasn't a great deal. Well, for Obama.
For Obama?
For Obama.
And the Republicans?
Oh, they wussed out like always.
Oh.
Yeah, no spine at all. What really happened, guys? It's really, 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 really simple. The Republicans, once again, I'll say it, have no spine. What they should have done, stuck to their guns from the beginning. What did they do? They went crying to Obama, said, mercy, mercy, we'll give you everything. And he said, no, I don't want it. I want more now. I want a blank check. So they gave it to him. They gave it to him. A blank check. Don't believe me? Here you go. Maybe. There we go. There is no actual debt ceiling right now. He can spend as much as he wants.
I think the American people are actually used to this by now.
Well, yeah, because the debt ceiling really meant nothing anyway.
I mean, well, we keep raising the debt ceiling, and we have been doing that for how many years?
Hey,
decades?
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the bank,
yeah,
and I'm going to tell them that I'm going to raise my debt ceiling.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it work?
Well, you can pull a credit limit. You can maybe pull out a credit card.
Well, that's all well and good. I want to raise my debt ceiling. So I can,
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it work?
Well, it usually does work. Isn't that the American way?
Well,
debt?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, except that they're the ones who tell me usually. But I want to tell them how much I can borrow.
Oh.
Isn't that what we do?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. I think have you done it?
Well,
the temptation of money is always there, and if you're like, "Hey, I want that big screen TV, I want that furniture," I can't
but there's
afford.
a limit. They tell you when you can't have any more money.
Well,
but see, I don't see why.
But wait, if you pay the interest and you pay that $5 fee every month, and they increase that limit, and they increase that limit again, you can keep getting all your goodies.
Yeah, but the damn interest keeps going up too.
Yeah, well, who cares about the interest?
Oh, that's kidding. True. That's all. That's all we pay.
This is how the federal government is working right now.
That's right, guys. We're kind of pointing out absurdity with absurdity at the moment.
The government has to eat. The government has to feed itself, right?
Yeah, the problem is we're the food.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, guys, yes, I'm seeing a lot of people praising the Republicans for finally getting their act together and giving in, or negotiating, as they call it, when really it wasn't even that they gave Obama what he wanted from the beginning. No, he came to the table and said, no, what I wanted before is not good enough. You're going to give me more. That's my problem.
He's been getting his way for these last 5 years anyway. I mean, now he's using, the police with barricades, and he's using police with riot gear with going after veterans, and then he's
but we've had that going on for quite a while. It's just gotten worse over time. Bush was doing that,
but he's always
too.
gotten his way. I mean, nobody really has a backbone, like you said just a minute ago.
Yeah.
And nobody's willing to stand up to these people or the government, or for that matter, even at the local level, people are not willing to stand up.
I don't know about that.
So,
I think the vets did a good job of standing up to them.
That's true, they did. And you've got a little video for that,
I
right?
do. Hey, guys, here you go. To let you just... It highlights the stupidity in the mainstream media, why you've got to pay attention to shows like this.
We tell the truth.
Yeah, actually, what a novel idea. What
Truth,
a novel idea.
honesty in government.
Oh,
honesty in politics. You'll get it here.
Yeah. So anyway, let me turn up the volume here, and you'll be able to talk in this, and so will I. It's not like the other videos, because I'm just going to play it right out of the page. So, guys, the only ones that I've seen report on this was a site called InfoWars. And
we forgot to mention one thing. We don't have Chris Berardi here today.
Yeah,
we've lost our bassist today, so we're down one band member.
Hey, I called this show last minute because I wanted to highlight the stupidity in the federal government for this week.
And it's important. I mean, people
it is
need
important,
to, yes,
and
people
he had
need to know
personal
what's going on.
business. He had personal business, so we can't fault him on that.
Right.
I really didn't give you all any notice.
Oh, that's all right. I'm here.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm here to save the day. Let's move on.
Okay. So anyway, here you go, guys. To highlight the stupidity of government, Watch this little video.
Last night on MSNBC, Rachel Maddow covered the Veterans March that took place over the weekend. And in stereotypical mainstream fashion, she deliberately distorted and falsified
Rachel
the
Maddow's a
facts
Democrat,
surrounding the protest.
No,
First,
I think
she
she's a
made it look
libertarian.
like the Veterans March was organized by the Tea Party, led by Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin.
Anarchists.
And she said it was a small
Evil
demonstration,
racists.
and once again pulled out the race card, insinuating that the Veterans rally was
That's a
somehow
new move, the
racially
racist card.
motivated.
Vaguely threatening but incoherent is a patented thing with these folks. It has never, ever held them back. Like, say, this guy
I think
who
she
brought the
kinda looks like a
Confederate
gremlin.
flag to the rally to wave it in front of the White House. Yes, an African-American family lives in that house now. But hey, I think the idea
I
here
gotta
was
be
more
nicer
about
to
waving a
gremlins.
Confederate flag in front of a house where a black family lives than it was about anything specific.
It always
related
comes
the
down to
Marines.
race.
And of course, they kept showing
Because that's
footage
all
of
they
this
got.
one guy who was out there with his Confederate flag, but failed to show the incredible amount of veterans who showed up, including, yes, black veterans.
Black veterans?
And that's because
black
most
racists.
everyone is extremely outraged right now about the Obama administration putting up barricades and denying veterans access to our nation's memorials.
Sick.
Y'all need to perform the Constitution you took the oath to do. These veterans served our country. They put their life in line on the line for you, for our country. And you're going to block their access to the memorial?
Who they paid for.
Surely
I
you
mean,
got more
they
dignity
blood and
respect
sweat,
than that. You're gonna spit on
and many of them are
their graves as well
disabled,
when
and
they
they're
die?
giving them no
But
right
Rachel
to
Maddow's
enter these.
lying to her audience.
And by
is
the
even
way,
worse.
the
She
memorials
claimed
are run
that
by
the
private
veterans, for
funds.
example, were throwing
Yeah.
the barricades at the White House, which did not happen.
They
It
then
should have happened.
picked up the barricades that were around the closed World War II memorial.
If I was there, I'd
and
be throwing them
dragged the
over the
barricades
fence.
over to the White House.
But then
and
again, you'd probably get
hurled the
arrested for something
barricades
like that.
at the
Exactly.
White House.
But
Even
the
though,
big
you know, it's not
lie
our
was when
house,
she
right?
told her
Or is it our
audience
house? I don't
that
even
the
know anymore.
police were not getting paid.
Then the protesters went home, so the police, who through no fault of their own are working without being paid, the police had to pick up those barriers, drag them back to where they came from, and keep working their shifts without being paid because of the shutdown that these folks made happen.
Wait a minute. Let's stop right there. Notice they keep showing a video loop of a veteran who is pushing one of the riot police backwards. What MSNBC failed to show their audience was the fact that it was the riot police who lashed out at veterans first. You can clearly see
It
this
reminds me of the whole
cop
Trayvon
pushing
Martin
the
thing.
veteran
Let's
before
edit
the
the
veteran
tapes. Let's
pushes
edit the
back.
video.
MSNBC deliberately edited
Let's
that
use our own
part
narrative.
out of the video. And as far as the cops not being paid during the
Notice how
shutdown,
scared the cops
it's
look
on
of all these
record
9-year-old
that
women.
all patrol and riot police are seen as essential. They're all on duty and they're all getting paid.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A little backup.
So the police that are getting yelled at there are working without pay while the shutdown goes on.
Are they?
And working without pay includes now getting screamed
She's
at
a professional
while being
liar.
at work.
Is there any threat?
I'm not going to
I
answer
wonder,
that.
is she even actually a journalist? I don't.
And there were a lot of
I don't-
World War
Seems to
II veterans that showed up for the march over the weekend, and no World War II veterans should be denied access to the Iwo Jima Memorial or the World War II Memorial or to any other memorial for that matter. And the fact that they were denied access should be a wake-up call to us all. The enemy is no longer foreign, it is domestic. So remember, you can't trust MSNBC. You can't trust Rachel Maddow.
can you trust?
And don't fall for the race card. Those
Don't fall for the race
memorials
card.
belong to us,
But many
each
sheep
and
do.
every one of us. And as long as they're out there putting up barricades, it's up to all of us to get out there, support our veterans, tear those barricades down, and send a clear message to Obama that we're not about to back down. I'm Darren McBreen for InfoWars.com.
That's all well and good, but will people actually contact their state senators, their state representatives, and say, you know, you got to stand with the Republic. We need to reform this Republic because the Republic is no longer, it doesn't exist. So, you know, until people actually step up, call their representatives or call their state senators and say, you know, we need to reform this whole idea of what we had for the founding fathers and what we had as this country. And until people step up, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of difference going on. I mean, right there is a good example of you got the narrative from MSNBC, you've got Obama, telling people, they can't see their memorials, yet they pay for it, even with their own blood. And then you've got these barricades up, and you've got, this debt ceiling going on. Let's raise the debt ceiling and kick the can down the road. I think people are getting angry, and I see it all the time through, the stuff that we do on the side with the young Republicans. But at the same time, I see it day after day after day. But until people start going and being active and getting involved in the community, going into their Tea Party, Patriots groups, or the 912 groups, or the Young Republicans, and start calling up their representatives, telling them they're doing a good job or they're not doing their job at all, nothing is going to change. And until we get money out of politics, it's not going to change.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to get money out of politics.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you go back 200 years, money was always a part of politics.
Yes.
We all know that.
Yeah.
But now these corporations and these big heavy hitters, these lobbyists that control a lot of the money being spent in their organizations, and it can be any organization. It can be the NRA. It can be anything. And these groups will funnel all this money into a congressional campaign, a U.S. Senate campaign, or even a state campaign, and they don't look at the little guy. The little guy might be standing on principle and standing up for what's right.
There's an easy way to fix this.
How are you going to fix it?
Limit the amount, no matter what they want to. They want to try and say no.
But
no.
You have to create a law to do that.
That's right. And
that's
the
that's
issue.
the issue.
That's the issue. But the ultimate fix would be they want to call corporations people.
Right.
Okay. So across the board, no matter what organization, no matter what person, you can only donate $100 to this campaign.
And they do that.
Yeah, but lower it.
Lower it?
$100. That's where I would put it.
I think
the reason
for a
is
state representative or a state representative,
I would
or
go
maybe
federal
less.
with $100, and here's
I think
why.
there's the limit of 100, but when you go in a higher office, then it's 500.
Yeah.
Even I think Congress is 500, but I know the state Senate campaigns you cannot go over $500 for a contribution.
Yeah, but corporations can give.
Corporations can go 500, 500, 500,
exactly.
500. And then you're looking.
But I'm not
at
talking.
thousands.
I'm not talking about $100, and then a week later give them another $100. I'm talking about for the whole campaign, for the year, for the whole campaign season.
All right.
All right.
Well,
$100 is all you can give, and here's why. You've got to not only level the playing field financially, but if they don't have money, they can't pay for all these ads, and they can't corner the market in the media.
Right.
And quite honestly, the media is what decides the votes.
True.
It really does.
But super PACs control the vote as well.
No, that's right. Now, quite honestly, as much as there's a few super PACs out there I like.
Like? Go ahead. I'm putting you on the spot, Matt.
Well, BUPAC does some good things, but at any rate, I'm not, quite honestly, I would like to do away with all super PACs, just because the whole idea itself, cornering the market like that, what stops you or I for running for president?
Here's a good.
It's money.
You're right. Remember, if you go back to last year's presidential campaign, great example. Everyone knows what happened between Michelle Bachmann, Rick Santorum, and you had Herman Cain, and all these candidates were fighting against Romney, and Romney always stayed right there at the level, and he never went up in the polls, and he never went down in the polls. But then there was other people that challenged him, like Newt Gingrich, and remember that whole Newt Gingrich and Romney campaign. It was like this. So Newt Gingrich shot way above Romney, and all of a sudden Romney with the super PACs, boom, 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 beat him down. He was out. Same thing with Herman Cain. Raised, let's go after him and these alleged women that he had affairs with. All of a sudden, now he's discarded. Let's move him off to the side. It was just like smear after smear, and it was all done with what? A lot of money.
But at the same point, I want to get back to what happened with this deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to point out what I would do, and I haven't gone over this with you, and this will probably shock you a little bit because it's a little radical.
Oh.
Okay? Oh, yeah, imagine that. I'm going to say something.
I'm used to the radical label anyway. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think I top you.
Really?
Anyway, I look at this just a little different because I think the Republicans here were in a perfect spot to kill two birds with one stone. You want to get rid of Obamacare? Great. I'll back you. Why don't we get rid of Obama at the same time? Simple. You want to cause all this trouble. You want to say, okay, I'm gonna.
It's called impeachment.
That's exactly right. But I'm not saying just impeachment. This should have been the point where they said, okay, you guys are going to cause all this trouble. It's about time we bring forward not only articles of impeachment, but after we impeach, not only...
Michelle Bachmann already brought it to the House floor. Did you know about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
But at any rate...
It's hush-hush, actually. It's not even in the media.
No, I guess that's breaking news, guys. So, no, not only should they have called for his impeachment, they should have impeached him, his entire staff, or, cabinet, I guess is the
You
word
mean
I'm
put them
looking
all in prison?
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. They're guilty of treason. Put them all in prison. This was the perfect time. You had the media attention. You had the entire country behind you.
Well, let me ask you real quickly about the treason definition. When we look at, and I forget his name, it's not on the top of my head, the guy that was in Russia and that airport there for a while. Anyway, that in the federal government, in the media, that was their definition of treason. Because he released classified information.
He was a whistleblower.
But right.
Yeah.
He released that information.
Protected.
But if we look at treason going back in history, and if we look back in what the definition of treason is, it's anybody who doesn't follow the Constitution. Am I correct?
No. The Constitution gives us a very, very small definition of treason, because treason was a word thrown around a whole lot by the British Crown.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't like the way you looked at me, off with your frickin' head.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that was treason back then, was any time you did something that the Crown didn't like.
But aren't we treating Obama like the Crown?
Well, no, he's treating us like he has a crown.
Well, I know, but even the media is treating him like he's some kind of royalty.
Yeah, but the media doesn't count as far as I'm concerned.
Oh.
No, treason is aiding, abetting, giving aid, comfort, and aid to the enemy.
Okay.
Much like he's doing with Al-Qaeda.
Right. Okay, you've mentioned that before.
Yeah. It's, like I said before, in our test show, I think it was,
No, we're going off a little bit off top. You were going to talk about
this is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I mean, this was the perfect time to bring this up, to throw him in chains.
Well,
and that's what needs to happen. It's obviously tried, but that's what I'm talking about. It's time to arrest a president that's committing treason.
The only reason why I agree with what you're saying is because if you look back and you look at what happened with Watergate with Nixon, and they wanted to go after him and impeach him, and so he resigned, right? And then you had Bill Clinton with the whole Monica Lewinsky situation, and they impeached him. He wasn't removed from office, but the idea of impeachment is basically if you're going to cover something up, or if you're going to break the law, or then that's grounds for impeachment. But scandal after scandal after scandal with Obama, we have not yet called out the fact that we need to impeach this guy. And because the media has such a love affair with this man, I just don't understand. And it's all because, and everyone says it, I think everyone I have ever talked to that's a Republican or maybe a Libertarian or even a moderate Republican, I think, and even Democrats even probably agree, the only reason why Obama doesn't get the grief like any other president in the history is because of one issue. And that's only because he's an African-American president. And everyone's afraid to say, I
think that has a lot to do with it.
A lot of people tell me that.
I think that has a lot to do with it, but I don't think it's the only reason. But he's also the golden boy.
Right, but I'm saying is that he's the first African-American president we've ever had in this country. And so I think a lot of people are on the fence when it comes down to, should I talk about that issue or should I not? And racism only exists with
Let me point out something that nobody's ever supposed to say. He's half white.
Right. But the thing is that nobody's going to go after him because they want this great chapter in American history books about Obama, and they're trying to form this great chapter with President Obama, but yet, they don't call him on the mistakes or the laws that he breaks or the scandals that are going on. When you got the IRS going after nonprofit groups, and they went after us. And I mean, I can't say too much about it.
Not this show, guys.
No,
not
the show. The young, yeah. And I mean, I got a letter, and it was going back years, and I'm like, it's a long story, and I'm not going to get into that. But I'm just going to say that when you have a president that admits going after nonprofits that don't believe in his point of view. And then you've got the Benghazi scandal, and you've got the Fast and Furious scandal, and you've got all these scandals going on, and I'm sure there's probably 5 or 10 more I can't even think off to the top of my head because there's been so many stories breaking since he's been president, and not once has he been called out on it. And Fox does somewhat, but then at the same time, too, they never call out saying, let's impeach. Oh, wait, we can't do that because you don't want to upset the IRS. You don't want to upset, I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a reason behind it.
I don't know. I think, well, like I said, he's the golden boy, and I think race is used to keep the average person, and that's used as the argument. I don't know so much that that's actually the reason. I've got my own thoughts there that I'll expand in later.
I'm sure there's other reasons, but the thing is that that's one of the things that come to mind. And I mean, we're not intelligence in DC. We don't know the secrets, and we don't know what the backroom deals are being made. But as an outsider looking at this whole thing, what goes on television or what goes on the radio and what you hear, you don't even know what to believe anymore, unless you watch C-SPAN. And I do watch C-SPAN.
Yeah, I watch a lot of
it kind of goes,
C-SPAN.
your eyes go crossed after a while, and you're like, oh gosh, they're saying the same thing over and over. And this whole shutdown deal, they're going, oh, it's the Republican shutdown. I'm like, they keep delivering that same message over and over and over again, and it gets in people's heads. And next thing you know, oh wait, of course the Republicans are getting disapproval because the Democrats know how to deliver a message over and over.
But it depends on which poll you look at, too. The Republicans actually win out in this, I really think.
Yeah.
I really do, because you look at a lot of the polls, I mean, come on. Because of this shutdown, or as I call it, the shakedown, Obama's down to 37% approval rating.
Right. And that's not even being reported. But when George Bush's approval went down about, I think it was towards the end of his presidency, it was all over ABC, all the alphabet networks. It was ABC,
don't quote
NBC,
me on this, guys,
that.
but I believe it got down to, 41%?
No, it was 37%.
No, was it 37%?
Yes, and it was nonstop on the news.
Yeah, and I think, it was. It was 37%,
and
it was
where is it now?
And it was because of the 2008 crash.
Right.
That's when it happened.
The
now,
TARP and all that
understand,
stuff happened,
guys, and you guys know if you've seen more than 30 seconds of this show that I'm no Bush lover. But, compare the two, it's night and day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're going to look at President Obama, what he's done for vets compared to George W. Bush, there's a huge difference there. You can see that George W. Bush really does care for the vets.
Except, let me see if I can find it. I want to. I think.
By the way, Lloyd and Carolyn, if you want to go ahead and ask a question, or if you want to make some comments, go right ahead. I'll bring it on the show. Anybody else who's also listening or on our chat line there, go right ahead.
Yeah, we've got very few people watching live because nobody really knew we were doing this, but they'll see it in the aggregate. Just to show you the difference here, guys. This is a graph, and I'll bring it up, of the spending. This is the national debt, okay, and obviously red was Republican, blue is Democrat.
No, this second blue graph here. Is that when...
That's Obama.
No, I meant before that. That wasn't Obama. No. George W. Bush would have been the red.
This part, this was Bush.
And that would have been Clinton.
This is Clinton. This is Daddy Bush.
Okay.
Okay. Now notice the big increase. Yeah, there's a big difference here, but I'm going to point something out.
Ronald Reagan was before that.
Yep.
So
It was nice and small. Then Daddy Bush took in, and look at this nice incline. That was Republicans, guys.
Yeah.
And then Clinton brought it and came in, and it kind of leveled it off. Yeah, right. If you remember, we actually had a surplus for a while under Clinton.
That was because of the Republican Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, he takes credit for that, by the way.
Yeah. Now, when Bush was in office, hold on now.
No, they're going to say that was because of military spending and the war.
Well, and that's right. That's absolutely right. And we're not going to get into the war because that's a whole can of worms with me in the room.
You mean there was no weapons of mass destruction?
Oh, I think that was pretty clear. But anyway,
well,
what I really want to put out,
or Syria. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what I want to point out is this last little bit of Bush here, guys. If you look at this right here, See that nice big jump right there?
That was the TARP.
That was TARP.
Right.
That one program.
And I remember Bush even said, hey, before I even leave office, he asked Obama, do you want any more to spend? Because I remember that whole narrative,
Yep. And obviously that one TARP thing.
And I want, we should look into the statistics to see how many Republicans actually voted for that TARP, because I remember it was a huge majority.
Yeah, TARP basically went through. It wasn't unanimous. Obviously, you had Ron Paul and Rand Paul in there, and they
voted for it too.
No, they voted against it.
Oh.
They were very much against it.
There were very few that voted against it.
Yeah, and the problem is, guys, it was all too big to fail. These banks are too big to fail. Really, they were just too big to jail. But I wanted to point that out. This is not simply an Obama problem. While Obama is far worse, he's really doing nothing but putting the same practices in play on steroids of what his predecessors did in both parties. And what I wanted to point out here, guys, is the same thing that I've said on a few other shows. I'm just going to say it more bluntly now. We don't have a two-party system anymore. We have a one-party system, and I think that this
You think the graph is actually proves that?
I think the graph and this deal, the two parties work hand in hand. Like I said, how many times did the Republicans have Obama over a barrel on this deal, and they refused to push the line? Give me a break. And the whole thing is, you had Ted Cruz, you had Rand Paul, you had Mike Lee, and a few others, and that was it.
But you know what? When you're talking about the Tea Party, you're talking about these terrorist anarchists, whatever you want to call them.
Oh yeah, the libertarian.
I remember when, I remember when it first happened back in 2008, and they said, "Oh, there's no chance in hell that they would have any way to change how politics is run in D.C." And that was the whole narrative in all the alphabetical networks that were saying, oh gosh, the Tea Party is just a bunch of kooks and they have no merit. And when you look at what happened, not even a couple of weeks ago, I mean, when you had Ted Cruz and Mike Lee up there standing on what the American people want, I think that completely took everyone by surprise, because they're standing on what the people want. And then they're saying, oh, they keep calling them racists and terrorists and anarchists. And the thing is that Democrats do that quite well. If they don't understand why we're standing on something, they always say, those terrorists, racist. And that's all they say. I have debates on Facebook all the time with Democrats, and you know what they say?
Racist.
They go, no, effing idiot, or they go, idiot, or they go, you don't know what you're talking about. And when you start spewing facts at them, they're just like, oh, back off, back off. They don't know what to do or say. And then they say, we're skewing the facts. And then they try to throw their Media Matters crap out there. And I just don't understand why people even take the Democrats even seriously anymore. It's not the same Democrat Party. What happened with JFK back in the old Blue Dog Democrat era, And one thing I want to mention, too, is when we're talking about the national debt, Matt, you might want to pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
It's on our Facebook page here. And these are just quotes from Rangel
Democrats.
And from Democrats and Pelosi and Obama and Reid. And if you want to just take a look at what they said, it's like when you have Pelosi saying, we can't just give a blank check over and over and over again. And that's something she said back in 2004. You had Rangel say, the request sounds like a drunk going to an AA meeting saying, just give me one more drink. And then you had Harry Reid, most Americans know that increasing the debt is the last thing we should be doing. And then Obama, back in 2006, as I said, America has a debt problem and a failure of leadership. Americans deserve better. See, I just don't understand why people keep electing the same fools over and over. They're all idiots. I mean, it just doesn't make any frickin' sense. And
it's because they're really not idiots, okay, guys? They're not liberals. Get it straight. They're authoritarians, all right?
Where do you go? Where do you go with that? I mean, the only reason they're saying the things that they're saying now
is because they know their constituents are dumber than
right,
dirt.
And they're manipulating the narrative. They're manipulating, saying, okay, I'm for it before I'm against it. You know, and it's like people are just tired of the corruption and tired of the crap coming out of D.C.
Well, yeah, again, it's just like Obama saying, no, I'm not going to take that, I want more. Why? Because he knows he can get away with it, because he knows his constituents have maybe 2 brain cells left. I mean, at this point, guys, if you support Obama, you've got to be an idiot. And I'm sorry, I know I might have offended a few people, but guess what? You're a fool. You're a moron.
Wait, now we're starting to sound like Democrats.
Not really,
no,
because
I'm
we've
saying
actually got good. We've actually got facts.
No, what
to
I'm
back
saying
it up.
is, you know, we can throw facts over and over again, and they're just kind of like a la da 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 da. I can't.
Well,
hear
I'm talking at their level. How's that?
Hello. You know, that's what they do, and they plug their ears, they close their eyes, they speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. And the thing is that the Democrats play the same crap over and over and over again, and not use any fact or knowledge, or even pick up a book for that matter and read some history. They're going to believe what their professors tell them in college. They're going to believe what high school tells them in their history classes. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, when I went to school, it was all left-leaning crap. And I remember you had to agree with these professors, or
you failed.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't remember how many times that I remember in class that there have been students that say they'd stand. It was usually close to that drop ad period. And they get up, and I remember we had to watch this documentary on Outfoxed, how Fox News is corrupting our airways and blah, blah. And we were forced to watch it. And we had to take an essay after that documentary. And I remember there were 2 kids in the class, actually maybe 1, but got up and said, enough, I can't do this anymore, and just walked out of class. And I was like, well, thank God this is the last day for ad drop period. But for me, it was an easy fly-by class, because any drone could be like, I love Obama, I love Bill Clinton, I think programs and spending is good. I mean, it's not that difficult to be a drone of a Democrat. I like free stuff. I mean, really. But you wanted to talk a little bit about the debt ceiling some more? Or?
No, actually, I saw Democrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember though, guys, as far as the as far as most of the Republicans up there, we got some good Republicans up there, but most of them are really no different than the Democrats at this
someone
point.
Here also said, and I think it was Lloyd or Carolyn saying that Obama wants to take Christianity out of everything, and it really scares them. And then I've heard that. I mean, it's just scary. I mean, this whole, he keeps saying, we want to fundamentally change this whole country. Well, he's taking out Christianity, and now we were getting closer to Christmas, and yes, I said Christmas. We're going to start dealing that whole debate again. They're going to say, oh, you can't have the 10 Commandments in courthouses, and you can't, put the Christ in Christmas. You can't, we have to join in when we have our kids having their carols and their routines, and they have to make sure that they put the Jewish songs in with the Christmas songs. So I mean, this whole debate's going to come up, and it happens every year.
Yeah, and guys, remember, he's also, like I said, he's funding Al Qaeda. The people that he's funding over there are throwing Christians off buildings, beheading them. Why? Because they won't become Muslim. Really?
Well, I don't think that's going to get to that point here.
I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know about that.
But quickly, before we even came on here, we were discussing this over here about Obamacare website violates licensing agreement for copyright software. And you might want to pull this article right up on the screen. It's just, if you want to pull it up, you can find it at the, I think it's the Weekly Standard. Yeah. And basically, it's owned, and the software used for the Affordable Care Act is run by a business called Spy Media. And Matt, you had some knowledge on this whole company?
Yeah. No, not the company. Not the company. Guys, I am not a great programmer. I know a few things. I can do a few things. It's how I do this.
You've done pretty well with our website and also the YR website. So.
Yeah, well, like I said, I can do a few things. I know a little bit about web applications and how the internet works. So I kept hearing these rumors and seeing stuff on the internet, and I was like, okay, let me go take a look for myself. Wake up call, guys. The Obamacare website is non-existent. There is nothing behind it. The entire application at this point, from what I can see of the code, it
has no code, right?
No, well, the
Simple code?
The code that is there
Yeah.
is BS. It's not. Most of it's not even real code. Okay, at this point, it would be easier to scrap it and rewrite it. We're at least 3
And now
years
you were
out
saying
from
before
a
the
working
show,
design.
Matt, you were saying before the show that you think that the federal government wants this to
Absolutely,
fail.
I think this was intended to fail. Not only the website.
And explain to our viewers why.
Okay, not only is the website intended to fail, which before I get into why the whole thing's intended to fail, I want to explain something to you about the website. Okay, please. Don't be a fool. Do not go there and put in any of your information. Number one, all right?
They already have our information anyway.
No, listen. Number one, by using that website, according to that website, you are contractually bound to forfeit your Fifth Amendment on everything you put in that website. Everything will be handed over to any government agency it wants. They want at will. That includes
Don't
the
they already
IRS.
have that information?
Well, to a point, but it goes much deeper. It goes much deeper. Everything you do at that point, that's basically it tracks your IP at that point. They know everything.
Well, I keep thinking when we keep talking about how government can take all our information and our private information and share it with everybody else and possibly even use it in advertisement, and we talked about that before. If you use Google at all, Google can now use your information, your photographs, and also not just your photographs, but your personal information on advertising. But I just keep going back in my mind about how the fact that we let the federal government get so big and control everything, the EPA, the education.
Oh, that was the design.
And I know, but I mean, the original design was just to keep our shores safe.
Well, that's right.
And how we've let the government grow so big, it reminds me of what happened in Rome with the ancient Romans, and with the fact that it used to be a republic before before they had, they had an emperor, Caesar. And Emperor Caesar, all of a sudden they were rich and they had all these great things happen. Well, I wouldn't say they were rich and all great things happened, because a lot of the senators and a lot of all those people had their bath houses and they lived in luxury. But
it's called decadence. That's
decadence.
Yeah.
But the fact is that it was a republic, and then all of a sudden it became an oligarchy.
A democracy.
An oligarchy,
yeah,
basically.
well, it became a democracy, which
then
then devolved into an oligarchy, which
Right.
is always what happens, and I'll get there shortly.
And I mean, but let me say real quickly, I find it just fascinating that there are so many people that support big government. And I always ask them, I'm like, do you want government in your life? Do you want them to walk through your front door and say, I can do it because I'm with the government? And the thing is that people
I'm with the government. I'm here to help.
Yeah, exactly. And, I always read this quote, if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for life. But if you give him a fish, he'll vote for you. If somebody, and the thing is that I just don't understand how people can let the federal government run the auto industry, the banks. And I remember back in the day, presidents were proud of the fact that they killed the banks. And now we've got a president that embraces banks, embraces the fact that there's a central bank, and then you've got all this extra crap on top of it, all these programs and agencies. If you go through the yellow pages in your phone book and you go to the government section, you're going to sit there all day long trying to find that one agency that is going to help you with your problem, and not necessarily is going to help you. So I just don't know if people will ever wake up.
Well, to your point on the banks, I want give a point of history here. On Jefferson's deathbed, President Jefferson, yes, he was a president. Okay, he was asked what his
Ben Franklin? No, I'm just
no. He was asked what his greatest accomplishment was, and his dying words were, "I killed the bank." No, I killed the bank.
Bank.
Yeah,
Bank.
the central bank. Your local banks are not bad, guys. They're part of the system, but they are not the bad part of the system.
And I think a lot of our viewers actually are educated on these issues. But the thing is, not all of them, but I think if you want to educate people that are sheep, and you know there's sheep out there in your family or friends among you that don't pay attention to politics, go on YouTube and type in The American Dream, and it's a little cartoon that people,
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, and there's
I'm
going
to post that on the website, guys.
That'd be great. And I've posted on the YR page, and people just don't. I don't know why they don't look at videos, but videos can teach you, an image, and especially if you use cartoons, because people can go back to their. Most people read at an 8th grade level anyway, so
most people think at a 4th grade level.
Yeah, so if you use cartoons, it really works, and it explains how the Federal Reserve has really choked the American people, and how inflation happens, and how we print our money, and if you go to it again, it's on YouTube, and it's called The American Dream, and it's something that I really recommend that you push to your family or friends that are sheep.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the Obamacare website, healthcare.gov. Guys, more than the government waiving your Fifth Amendment rights to the government, but again, guys, just from my experience, looking at what's going on there, all the code is executed client side, and if you don't know what that means your computer executes the code and then sends commands to the server to put things in the database. What that means, it's inherently insecure, because you can put in an SQL query. Basically, guys, a 5-year-old could hack this system, and they could get everything in the database. That includes your social security number.
Oh, no. They've got the backup of the IRS. I don't think anybody wants to mess with them.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you go to jail for a long time.
Yeah, no, guys.
We're not encouraging anyone to hack into.
But it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, guys. Right. What I'm saying is, this is a hacker's dream. Everything they ever wanted to know about any person that put their information in that website can be gotten. Not only that, but any database that website uses can be wiped clean with a single command from that website from a hacker that halfway knows what he's doing.
Scary, isn't it? Even 5-year-olds these days can build a website. Yeah. And not just build a website, but they know the computer language.
And guys, here's the thing. The Paul Revere website was built in a weekend, and it's secure. You can't do that to our website. Now, the government had 3 years and $600 million, and they couldn't build a website better than I built in a weekend.
How many millions were spent on that website?
$600 and some odd million.
That's insane.
Yeah.
They should have just hired you for that website.
No, I'm not touching that.
We got someone here that just, Carolyn and Lloyd here probably mentioned, and they refused to buy Obama insurance. And
good.
Here's the thing. At my work, I get a lot of people that say they get so worked up about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, ACA. And they always say, do you got information on that? And I said, well, I can get you the information. And I took my information, threw it right in the trash can.
Got a couple of weeks to read it?
No, it's just about 3 pages. But the thing is, I threw it right away. And I threw it in the trash. And the thing is that, what scares the hell out of me is the fact that, and I've been telling people that it's not really going to affect anybody until they start getting taxed, or what they call a fine, or they call a penalty, or whatever they call it. And when that starts happening, and then they go do their taxes, and they sit there with their tax guy, and they say, oh, I'm going to get a refund, right? And they go, oh, no, well, we got to deduct $300 from your taxes because the IRS wants your...
And not only that, the big thing is they're saying, oh, it's $95 for the first year.
Oh, the first year.
No, it's not. It's $95 or 1% of your income, whichever is more.
Oh.
Okay, so it's only $95 if you make only $9,500 a year.
But you fail to mention the fact that what happens 3 years down the road, that penalty goes higher.
Oh, yeah. It goes up. Now, here's the really scary part about the penalty, guys. It's run by the IRS. Okay, so that
means jail.
Yeah,
do not pass go.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have a debtor's jail in this country. So if you owe somebody money, they can garnish your wages. They can cause you a living hell. They can make your life a living hell, but they can't put you in jail. But the IRS does. The IRS can, and I guarantee you, the IRS will. Okay.
I'm so afraid to keep talking about the IRS because I'm afraid I'm going to get an audit.
I don't care. They can audit me all day long. They can kiss my white butt. Yeah.
You have no fear. I fear the IRS. I'm sorry.
No, I don't fear the IRS because you know what? What are they going to do to me? I
really wish when we get bigger, I want to have a sound effects. I want to have that dun 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 dun. You know, that whole IRS. If we bring up IRS, we can just hit the music. Which every time someone says IRS, dun 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 dun. You know.
Yeah, I was going to play the song. If they didn't come up with a deal, I was going to play that song. It's the end of the world. That old song. I can't remember the lyrics.
They just said, "I'll lose my job and live in a tent." So there's more freedom if you're homeless. I think a lot of homeless people.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people who live in in a tent in the woods.
I've lived in the woods for 6 months myself because I got sick and tired of everything that was going on in my life.
And you have more freedom that way.
My God, it was the best 6 months of my life.
I bet.
I hunted my own food. I fished. I ate wild.
Did you have a permit for the fish?
No.
You should have.
No, it's too bad. Just like, I'm not getting a damn permit to go protest either. They can kiss my ass.
Well, then they'll fine you.
They can try.
Oh, okay.
They got to get my information first,
and
I've got to Fifth Amendment.
You were talking about that, and I remembered the whole Occupy movement thing that happened a year or two back, and they were all sitting in Centennial Park and pitching tents, and I never, and they waited weeks and weeks and weeks before they actually started giving them fines, and I'm like, but when you have a veteran rally in D.C.
Riot police. And that only took moments during a rally because they took the barricades to the White House. See, they're going to arrest veterans who could have died for our freedom. It's because they literally fear veterans, and the reason is because they're trained weapons and they haven't been totally decommissioned.
But my point is that it took them weeks.
In other words, they've got balls.
It took them weeks to give them fines to these Occupy hippies. And then it took them not even hours to go after veterans who were just saying, I want to look at my World War II memorial for my service to this country. It just kind of blows my mind because there were only two, Sarah Palin, Ted Cruz, and Mike Lee that were there during the rally. Where were all the other Republicans? All of them should have been standing ground at that rally at the White House saying this is wrong and they should all be unified and working together.
I think the world of Rand Paul, but I would like to know why he wasn't there.
Exactly.
I really would.
Maybe he had a meeting.
Yeah, maybe he was busy. I'm not going to say he wasn't, but
But they all should have just said, okay, since the government is shut down and we've got a lot of time on our hands, we're trying to make a deal, obviously, to make the government work again and put it back together. But
so we can continue raping.
But what they should have done is all the Republican House members and all the Senate members should have been right there in front of the White House and saying, we stand
they can't
for
be seen with the slaves.
People. That's what they should have done.
They can't be seen with the slaves. That's what it comes down to.
Slaves.
It's what we are.
Well,
I mean, come on. In the Middle Ages, you were considered a serf, a.k.a. a slave, if you paid 10% of your income to the king. We pay how much? I pay 30% almost. What does that make me?
Well, we talked about this before, about the whole, remember back in the revolutionary, the American Revolution.
We fought a war over 3%. What the hell happened?
3% we were being taxed about the whole...
of course, there was more to it than that, but...
Well, when the whole Boston Massacre happened, and then you had the tea tax, and it was 3%, and they said, that's enough. We've had it. Yeah. And they took arms, and they went against the crown.
Keynote, though, they did not fire first. They did that, and that's the keynote there, guys. First one to fire loses. Don't shoot first.
Right. But we're not encouraging any violence. We're just saying that this is history, and we got angry over a 3% tax. What are we taxed on now? Do we even know how much a dollar is worth? Do we even know how much of that dollar is taxed? Let me look. How many cents on the dollar is taxed to the federal government, the state government?
Average American pays 60% in taxes one way or another, and that's federal, state, and local taxes.
Okay, so if you compare
sales taxes, stuff like that.
If you compare 60% to 3%, and
well, it was a 3% tax raise that they were fighting over.
Right. Exactly. And I don't know what their rate was overall, what they were being taxed from the crown.
It was very small compared to what I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was very
But
small.
they
I want to
kept-
say it
they-
was less than 10%.
Right. And they kept everything that they had.
Yeah.
I mean, they flourished. And now we have a government run by wolves. And a wolf will just rip apart a sheep in a
A
moment.
nation of sheep will be ruled by wolves.
And the thing is that, you know, people are afraid to speak up. And people are afraid to either, you know, go against their party or not go against their party. I just don't know what the overall answer is to all of this. And I think that there's so much crap that's being put into legislation these days and regulations on top of regulations on top of where I work. You know, you can't even you can't even report something and not get in trouble for it. So, I mean, the thing is that they have to watch their back because they don't want to get in trouble with, you know, the federal government or the state government or whatever. But the thing is that I'm going to mention real quickly, I pay a lot of attention to state politics. And I'm not going to say the name, and maybe I should. But
You should. Go ahead. You call me out, I'm going to call you out.
I remember going to a fundraising event, and I heard a state representative speaking about how he was eliminating regulations in Tallahassee. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, he's eliminating. But then I asked a question, and I said, so how many bills or how many regulations did you put on and how many did you take away? And he honestly told me that he passed more regulations and only eliminated 3 regulations for his
How
term.
much did you have to push to get him to say that?
Well, because I kept saying, you know, everyone that goes to Tallahassee wants to pass a bill. And I know that you're only limited to how many bills if you're a state representative. You're only limited to 1, maybe 2. I think it's 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're only limited to how many bills that you can sponsor and try to pass.
But you can repeal as many as you want.
But you can yeah, exactly. And I said, well, you know, if being a Republican, if you are true to your principle, wouldn't you want to go to Tallahassee and say, I want to eliminate a lot of these bills or a lot of these laws and a lot of these regulations that are on the books hurting people every single day.
And if you're a real American, you want to get rid of most of them.
Right. But then here comes the tricky part. Then they have to please their party to get reelected, and they have to, you know, negotiate based on money and based on power. And, you know, by asking that question, I was just, I mean, this is my first experience into politics, and this was several years back. But I'm like looking at this guy, and I'm going, how in the world can you say, on your palm card when you're running for office, I eliminate regulation, but then I only deregulated 3 times in my time in Tallahassee, but then I passed a ton of regulation. So I'm kind of like looking at this guy, and I'm like, you claim you're for conservative values and about deregulating and shrinking government, but yet you're not. You're doing the complete opposite, and you're proud of it.
And this is why I tend to bring up a lot the fact that most of the founders were against parties altogether, because this is what it comes down to: the party controls the people. Now, if the party,
I wouldn't go that far, but
that's what you were just describing. The party was the problem.
The party is when they're making deals and doing that kind of thing. But there are people that go into office that stand on principle, and most of them don't get support because they don't have money. But the thing is that a lot of these people who do get elected that stand on principle, they stand against the establishment, but at the same time, too, they're going to be the lonely wolf sitting there, or you sheep, or whatever you want to call the metaphor. But they'll be there, and they won't be able to do anything in Tallahassee because of the fact that they don't, you know, they stand against the grain. So that's how.
So let me ask you this question, okay? And I know I'm treading dangerous here for you, because you want to be a little careful being the president of the Young Republicans and all. But I'll put it this way: I'm still registered a Republican, and I will be until one of 2 things happens. Well, if we can change the party, which I'd love to see.
And I think there's a movement within the party.
There is a movement.
Right.
But, like I said, I'll be a Republican until, that happens and I stay a Republican, or what I think is more likely, they kick me out. But that being said, at what point do you finally say, I'm done? What would it take? Or is it just pure party loyalty? I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to try to change it even though the whole thing's like the Titanic going to the bottom. At what point do you say, you know what, I'm done, there's got to be a better way?
I think it's going to be the part where the people are completely ignored. And I'm not saying that it has happened yet.
I would. I'd say that's completely happened.
I wouldn't go that far because I think the party does stand for the people. The thing is that I don't think a lot of people are aware of the conversations that take place behind the closed doors. And, having witnessed some of this stuff, it's unfortunate. But the thing is that until people actually get involved and see it and then try to make a difference within the party, it's not going to change. See, a lot of people leave the party and they can't influence anything. They can't do anything.
I wouldn't say that.
I would because if you get in there and you're actually, in your executive committees, you're in the trenches with all of these people, and you prove yourself and you say, I am an activist and I work really hard for what I believe in. And you
then
put
you're
enough,
ostracized.
Wait. Well, not exactly. If you put no.
What
listen,
happened
listen.
to what happened to Ron Paul?
That's true. But let me finish my thought real quick. If you go in there and you say, I've built pressure against you, and the young people who are more angry than the old guard,
who again supported Ron Paul like no one else,
right? And I think a lot of young people are kind of getting tired of it, and they're wising up to it, and the old guard doesn't know what to do.
And that's why the Libertarian Party's growing.
And that's why you got that rift. And I don't think that leaving the party is gonna solve anything, because until you're in it and you try to make a difference within it, you can't just you're then going to be on the other party, and then you're going to go, oh, I'm complaining, nothing's working out for me, and blah 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 blah.
I don't see it quite like that, because
all I hear is whining.
Well, I hear a lot more than that. But anyway, here's my take on it, because I honestly think that if you're one of those like you are, and I'm not saying you're wrong here, I'm just saying this is my point of view, that you're in it and you're not leaving no matter what point do they have to listen to you? Until they know that you're willing to leave and you're willing to take a bunch of people with you, they've got no reason to listen to you, because you're just going to sit there, you're going to whine and complain, and that's all. But when you get to the point, like the Libertarians have, where they can start pulling people, right. Well, the Republican Party's got one of two decisions that it's going to have to make soon. Either it's going to have to listen to the Libertarians, or the Libertarians are going to overtake them.
Let's just say this. Since I've been involved in this, I can tell you that I've got a goal in mind. I've got a path that I want to follow, and I'm almost to that point to show that one person can make a huge difference within the party.
I
think I've discussed with you about my
goals. I know what you're talking about, and we're not going to say it on air, guys, because it's covert. But no. I understand what you're saying,
and
I think
promising,
it's a good. I think
and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then
And that's
then
why I think I really do. I think we need both. I think the Libertarian Party's doing great things,
but it takes a lot more people being active to make a difference. And if you complain,
and that's the key.
And if you go to your executive committee and you get involved in it, you can change it by your vote. And the thing is, you can change how corruption happens with your vote. You can be a delegate. Let's say, example, if you go to your executive committee and you want to get involved, and the whole presidency 5 last year, they had the presidential debate, right? Mm-hmm. They had all the candidates up there. The only way you can be a delegate to vote on that straw poll for Herman Cain won it, but because he was an inspiring speech, I was there and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. And everybody just jumped on that vote for Herman Cain because he gave this great, inspiring speech. And you can't be a delegate unless you're involved in the executive committee. And, if you're involved in the executive committee, you become a delegate and you go and watch the presidential debate live. People fight over the chairs closer to the stage. It's chaos. But it's
because they're all gods.
Well, yeah, a lot of people treat them like that. But or any elected official for that matter. It's like they put them on some kind of precipice way up here, but I don't understand that because I make them, if I see them in the face, I'd be like, why did you vote that way? But, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh.
I've told you stories about what I've done.
Yeah, I know. But, but anyway, I was just going to say
we're getting a little off topic,
right.
but I do want to say this. One of the major problems that I have within the Republican Party right now is the so-called loyalty oath. That drives me nuts. Okay, if the Republican Party puts up somebody like what happened this past election, that is close to, if not the worst possible choice out of all the people up there, I can't, in good conscience, support him. So I've got one of two choices.
I understand that loyalty oath only because if you look at what happened in Wisconsin, and you had Scott Walker running for governor and a legislator that was run by Democrats. And you had a huge majority of... I lived in Wisconsin, and I remember how much of a welfare state it was. And when I left, I'm like, oh, there's no chance that state would ever flip Republican.
Yep.
And then it became Republican with Scott Walker and the legislator, and then all of a sudden, they had a recall. Oh, this guy could have never possibly won, and we're going to have to fight against this guy and have a recall and get the petitions signed and make sure we have another special election. Well, he won, and he won a huge majority, even more so than he did the first time around.
Yep.
And all the Democrats,
that had
they had to
nothing to
protest. They all went to another state and protest. But the thing is that they all standed unified. And
yeah,
they
but
said,
that has
"We're not
nothing to
gonna
do with
take
the
it
loyalty
anymore."
oath. That has everything to do with what was going on at the time. They had someone to actually get behind. Now,
I see what you're saying, because in D.C. they need someone to get behind.
Exactly.
And it's moving in that direction with Ted Cruz.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
Maybe?
know. Quite honestly,
You know how many people were fired up about that?
I hope and pray that I'm wrong. But given the history of the GOP, I don't see I can't even talk. I don't see Ted Cruz having a chance.
He's a freshman, that's why.
Well, not only that, I would find it very hard to believe.
What about Rand Paul?
I think he's going to get ostracized just like his dad did.
Okay,
Maybe
what about
not
Mike
to the
Lee?
degree. I don't see it happening. Why?
What if all
because they
three of
don't
them?
play ball.
Well, we should have a female president.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now your only goal there'd be Hillary, and oh boy,
she's on leave right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
She needs to be on permanent leave.
Anyway,
back to Obamacare, guys. We got way sidetracked, but I think that was an important conversation to have. But I wanted to get back to the idea that Obamacare was designed to fail from the beginning, and there's a reason behind that. There's a very good reason behind that if you are a socialist pig, a.k.a. Obama, or most of the people on the Democrat ticket up there, and a lot of the Republicans as well. If you've got Obamacare, this is not a fully socialized system. You still have to buy it, and you pay your fees, and you pay your dues, and you go broke. But guess what? It's not going to work. Everybody knows it's not going to work. And again, it was designed to fail for the reason that after it fails, all of a sudden you can bring in a fully socialized system. Now, what's that mean? That means everybody across the board gets health care. Sounds wonderful, right? Great. Except for one little thing. Number one, you're going to wait 10 years to see the doctor, but that's going to happen with Obamacare anyway because they're all frickin' leaving. But on top of that, it's the socialist dream.
Unless you're almost on the bridge of death.
Yeah,
I think that's
right.
when they can push you through. That's what they do in Canada.
That's what they do in a lot of places, except for people go in with stage 1 cancer and end up being terminal before they get their appointment.
Unless your insides are going to explode.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
Now, what I'm saying here, guys, is the main goal here is control, and this is a control mechanism because once you have fully socialized healthcare, then you go to the store and you go to buy a gallon of ice cream. Well, you've had your allotment for the month. Sorry, you can't have it. If you have too much ice cream, it raises healthcare costs. So it's a full control system, top down. Now then you're going to say, well, how are they going to know how much ice cream I've bought?
They keep track of your debit card.
They actually do. They actually do. And, I'm going to use cash. I do. I use mostly cash. I try to do everything cash unless I have to do it on the internet. A lot of the stuff for the show I have to do on the internet. And, of course, I've got to document everything once we get the business license, which should be soon, by the way. But there's a problem with cash. It's coming. I posted on the Facebook. If you don't follow us on Facebook, you need to. I posted on Facebook a letter from J.P. Morgan Chase, the biggest bank in the country, quite possibly the world at this point. They are now limiting business accounts to $50,000 in cash transactions, both deposits and withdrawals combined, per billing cycle. That's 1 month. So $50,000 sounds like a lot. If you've ever run a business, it's not. A small grocery store will go over that in 1 month, easily. Okay? Also, they're banning international transfers. So they're keeping the money in here. What are they doing? They're doing two things. First of all, it's actually an IMF plan. You can actually go to the IMF's website. You can research the IMF and see they say it themselves. I'm not going to pull everything up because I've got no more room on my screen, guys. Basically, the idea here is a cashless society. They do away with cash, and then you've got no choice. They can see everything you do. Not only that, but if they don't like what you're doing, they can turn your card off. Guys, this is what we're headed for.
If you want to pull up the letter, it's on my screen.
Okay,
right.
There you go. That'll work. There's the letter. Now, if you don't buy it, well, I got bad news for you because I got a friend who called me right after I posted this. He runs a business in Naples. He called me up and said, "Hey, dude, I just got that letter today. This is real, guys. Absolutely real." So, again, this is part of a bigger plan. They're already having problems with, actually, J.P. Morgan Chase is the ones that control the EBT cards, and we saw the problems we were having last week. Or actually, was it this week? Or last
week?
It was
this week.
This week, yeah. Sorry, guys, time just, too busy.
You're talking about the issue they had at Walmart?
Oh, yeah. What happened with that, guys? Oh, they had a failure. When they updated the system, suddenly nobody had any food stamp money.
No, they had more credit.
No. It started out, the first thing that happened was they had zero balance. Nobody could buy anything.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember.
And then then they screwed up again. How convenient. And now everybody had unlimited money, and they cleaned out the Walmarts.
Yep. And the Walmart
Frickin' animals.
Walmart took the tab too.
That's right. No. This is our mistake, but Walmart, you're paying for it.
Yep.
Hey, how's that work?
It's a society run by people that just want free stuff. We live in a society that people just want free stuff.
I would say, well, we're not run by those people.
But I'm saying people, like I said before, if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for life. If you give him a fish, he'll vote for you. So the thing is, Obama's giving them a ton of fish, and they want
something smells like fish here,
and he wants that vote. He wants that vote for Congress and Senate next year, and this is what we're up against. We're up against free stuff. So until people get involved and knock on doors and push their right conservatives and make sure you're picking the right candidate, and not just picking something you see on the street in a sign or a palm card that you get in the mail. Make sure you contact some of these candidates and ask them questions. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of these candidates who don't have money and they're running against somebody who has a lot of money, I'm going to tell you that person who doesn't have money might tell you, hey, this other guy is a crook. You know, and sometimes if you call and contact them...
You mean politicians lie?
Oh, all the time.
Wow, I never knew that.
You know, I've worked on so many campaigns, and I got to tell you that sometimes it amazes me that these people get elected and nobody questions or contacts the candidate who's running for office who's got less money, or even for the fact I've supported people that have money.
A lot of them don't even know he's running. That's the problem.
Exactly. And they'll see it on the ballot, but then they'll go, "Oh, I didn't recognize that guy. I saw that guy's sign all over town. All over town, I saw that guy's sign, and I saw that guy's, material, mail-in material. I saw TV ads, but the other person
can't remember anything it said, but I saw his name.
Yeah, and I saw his television commercial or her television commercial. I saw the mail-ins, and money is where it happens, and that's how people get elected. But the thing is that if what I do is I research every single candidate who's running. That's the only way you're going to pick and choose the winners from the losers, because, well, I mean like principal winners and losers, not the actual winners and losers. But I'm just going to tell you that if you actually call those people on your palm cards, or even from mail-ins, because sometimes a mail-in can cost $5,000 to send to just a city. If somebody's running for something that's county-wide, that can cost $8,000 for just one piece of mail-in that's only so big, and people don't realize how expensive that is. And if you don't raise enough money, you don't get your message out there, and then you lose, and then it's the guy who's got all the specialist money, all the lobbyist money, all the unions. The unions pump all this money into these campaigns too, so they can go, oh gosh, I can afford 5-6 mail-ins. Oh, and I got TV ads, and I've got this, and you don't realize how much money's actually spent in these campaigns. It's a lot of money.
Tell them what's supposed to happen with the money they don't spend on the campaign.
Oh, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Okay, so the money that's left over in the campaigns, they go to their executive committees, and they donate it to the executive committees, and then they get more and more powerful. And when you look at it, you go into an executive committee, and you sit there and you learn so much, because you see this person who ran for office won and got maybe 15,000, 20,000 left over because they didn't need all that extra money. So what they're going to do is donate it back to the party. And sometimes they'll sit on that money and not spend it and not use it. And it becomes, it
I don't know who you'd be talking about when you say that.
Let's just say it doesn't happen just locally. It happens everywhere. I'm going to tell you, I have talked to so many people across the state, and they have the same problems with their executive committees across the state. And I'm going to tell you that if you want to correct what's going on out there, you got to get involved, because it's so important that they don't. If you knew what's going on and how the games are played, and they call them games, they're real people's lives. They're not games, and how the money is being tunneled and down a pipeline, and how like we were just discussing about the extra money. It makes your stomach turn. But that's all I got to say about that.
The whole thing's disgusting, guys. But yeah, it is a game. In fact, what's going on with the food stamps, like we were talking about before, guys, this goes all the way back to Greece. But the Brits call it the Great Game, or balkanization, divide and conquer. Basically, what it is you get people that want to do well, that want to work on one side. And then you get these other people over here, as you said, you give them fish, you give them free crap,
and they vote for you.
And they vote for you.
Right.
But then something even better for the system happens then, because these two people, they start doing this.
Right.
And they start fighting with each other, and all they care about then is what's going on between the two of them.
I got to say,
see nothing that's going on behind the curtain.
I don't like to bring up names, but I got to say, being involved in this and getting into the trenches of it, you start seeing like these host committees that pop up, and a year or a year and a half or maybe 2 years prior to the election. And then you look at all the names on the host committee, and then you've got, oh my gosh, are we supposed to support somebody because he's got or she's got a list of names, and they're all the same people that they supported the last go around. So it's there's selections that pick the people that they want elected, and then you look at the host committee and you're going, oh my gosh, this is almost impossible to beat, because nobody knows how decisions are made early on. It's kind of.
I'll bring you back to something that you hate hearing me say.
Go ahead.
Okay. Imagine if we had no parties. Everyone at that point is on a level playing field.
I disagree, because I think if you actually, it comes down to whether you're a hard worker or you're lazy. And if you're lazy and you don't want to correct the system that you're so passionate about, if you're really passionate about your country and you're passionate about politics and you're passionate about watching what you see on TV, put it into action instead of complaining about it.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the people here. We're talking about the politicians themselves at this point.
They know how the system works.
That's right. But again, if you rip the system out from underneath them with the parties, again, we're all on a level playing field. Now, here's what I'm no. Here's what I'm saying.
I don't agree with that.
Are they playing? No. Are they working hard to get their party support, or are they making backroom deals? Now, you know for a fact what's going on there.
I have to plead the fifth. No, I'm just kidding. And like this person said here, they're all crooks. They may have got they may have good intentions at first, and then they fall into the gutter.
I think he needs a thicker pair of glasses, guys.
No, they are pretty thick. Anyway,
okay.
That's why the font on the screen's a little bit. You may have to increase it just a little bit, but we'll get to that later.
My God.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, but yeah, the thing is, I mean, I don't want to talk ill about the party because I really truly believe that people can make an influence and change the party from what's going on. A good example is what was going on during the government shutdown. Nobody ever thought something like that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Nobody did. And until you had a leader that stood in front of the microphone and said, I'm not going to leave here until I get my opinion, my view out there to the masses through cameras and through a microphone and tell the people what they want to hear.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But what was
and it can be done in the party as well.
I'll give you that. But what was the end result? Okay, now granted,
but the numbers are growing.
No, listen. The end result there, granted, I love what Ted Cruz did. I supported him 100%.
And he's a Republican.
That's
he's
right.
He's not a libertarian, and he's not an independent.
He's one of the libertarian leaders. He's just not libertarian.
He's not. He doesn't have the banner of libertarian.
That's all well and good.
Either does Rand Paul.
That's right. But they are considered the leaders of the Libertarian Party. Why? Because the libertarians don't have a freaking loyalty oath.
Okay, so if what you're saying is true, what you're saying is true, then I would see people from the Libertarian Party actually be a leader and standing up, and people will follow.
I
haven't seen that yet.
But here's
putting up somebody like Gary Johnson is not going to make it happen.
Well, here's the problem. It all comes back to money, like you were saying before. A third party has no federal help. The two major parties
has no chance.
It has no chance right now, but if they can get
100 years from now it might?
I don't think it's going to take that long.
No, it will take a long time.
Okay, I'll take you back. I'll take you back. Let's go back in history, guys.
All right, let's go back.
Go back before word could spread.
Can we have some fog effect here? No, I'm just kidding. Black and white. Can we turn this black and white?
I might be able to, but I'm not going to monkey with it. Anyway, we're going to go back and
we're going to go back to the Constitution.
Actually, back not quite that far.
Okay.
We're going to go back to before the Republican Party and how the Republican Party began.
Right.
The Republican Party began much like the Libertarian Party is beginning today. Okay?
That's a good point.
It was the Whigs in power.
Right.
And within 10 years, the Republican Party took over and the Whigs were dead.
And the Democrat Party was just the same.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look
how they morphed into something different.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like I told you before, it can go back to that. The thing is until people get off of the couch,
my point
and go to their meetings.
My point is, here's the big difference between now and then, guys. The reason that the Republican Party was able to come to spring out of nothing is that people voted conscience. They didn't vote party lines. And what I'm saying is, this is why, vegetarian. Okay. What I'm
somebody just wrote, I vote vegetarian.
Yeah, sorry, I forget that people in the aggregate won't be able to see that. And you got me all off my train of thought here.
That's all right.
We're
going back in time. That's what
we've already come back to the present.
Okay.
Yeah, we've gotten out of the time machine.
Good movie, by the way.
Actually, yeah, it was. But what I'm saying here is that if people vote their conscience and don't just vote party lines, then things change. How many of you just held your nose and voted for Romney? How many of you held your nose and voted for somebody else? Because there was somebody else there, but you didn't think they had a chance of winning. And until people understand that voting your conscience is what counts, it's never throwing your vote away if you're voting your conscience.
Hey, can you throw up what's on my screen right here?
Absolutely.
This is where the people
He wants to change the subject.
This is where the people got it right. And they actually wised up and said, this is the wrong guy for office and for mayor of New York. And it comes from the Daily News. Anthony Weiner says he would be a mayor if the internet didn't exist. Well, we can just talk a little bit about how did he lose that race. He had name ID, he had the money, he had everyone behind him, and then he was before when he was congressman, he stepped down because of this whole sexting thing that happened, and then all of a sudden now it happened
because
again.
He can't keep it in his pants. That's what happened.
It happened
but
again, and now he
side,
says he would have won if what we're doing now didn't exist.
Well, that's very true. That's
but people
true.
did wise up and not vote for the guy.
Well, that's because they had information.
Maybe it's because his last name was Wiener, but
I really, I shouldn't say this. This is a family show, but
is it really?
Yeah, this is kind of a family show. But the thing that was going around, with Holder being the VP slot, the Wiener Holder ticket, that was just hilarious. I loved it.
That's been out for years.
Has it?
Yeah.
I just saw it.
I posted that 2 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Tells you how much I pay attention to Facebook.
That's my whole life is memes, and you know that. I post all that constantly on Facebook pages. But anyway, yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's amazing to me that it takes a scandal like this for somebody not to get elected. But if you look at the most important thing that people should look at, and it's public record. Yeah. If it's public record that if you look into where they get their money, you have candidates that say, I'm for gambling, but I'm against gambling, but I'll take gambling money from lobbyists. Or, it's so funny how they tell you one thing, but if you look at where their funds are coming from, and what we should do next year, Matt, and this would be fun, it would be a lot of fun, is that if we start posting their financial records on our screens here.
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Absolutely, I can do that.
And I think that would really shake them up because they don't want people to know where they're getting their money.
That's true. I have
that
seen
is
the
something
meme.
that people need to see.
I have seen the meme, and I really like it. That people running for office should have to wear like NASCAR drivers do, with all their corporate logos all over them. That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
They would be covered from head to toe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
every politician would be pretty much. Because even if you're an underdog and you just happen by just coincidence or by luck or by the grace of God, you get elected, then you become the machine again, just like all the rest of them. Because all of a sudden, all these lobbyists just show up out of nowhere and they go, "Hey, you're the incumbent. You're the guy that has name ID. We need you to vote for us on this. Here's $10,000. Here's $5,000." And that's just how
the local level. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah. I'm telling you. And what I've heard from people that are in D.C. and I've talked to
Oscar
people.
Mayer Wiener.
Yeah. The people I've met that are in D.C. Have told me stories that, it's so funny when you're like a new congressman or a new senator and you go in there and you have this great intentions and like, you mentioned earlier, they fall into the gutter because the fact is they go in there and they're like, oh, I'm going to change Washington and I'm going to do all the great things. And then all of a sudden they walk in their front door and they go into their office and then guess who they meet? They meet 50, 100 lobbyists. They go, oh, we want to help you. 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 And same thing with unions. Mm-hmm. We want to help you. We want to help you. We want to help you. Fight for us. Fight for us. And that's how it is.
Well, it's come down to, and everybody says it, everybody knows it, but it's still considered the dirty little secret that special interests and corporations actually run this country.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun actually next year just to post the financial reports.
Absolutely. I think we should start doing it.
I'll have so much fun with that.
Yeah, I definitely think we should start doing that. Now, guys, I know we keep getting sidetracked on this, but he's bringing up good stuff. I do want to once again go back to the original point of this show that we're broadcasting today, which was the deal, and I want to show you that they were whining and complaining that if they didn't reach this deal, that we were going to default. Okay, number one, that was a lie. According to the 14th Amendment, we couldn't. Okay, and we make plenty of money to pay the interest on the debt, and if we
I heard different about that.
Well, the numbers.
We go from a AAA rating to a D rating.
Well, that doesn't matter.
Well, it does when you want to borrow more money.
Well, we're not AAA anymore. We've been down.
No, before it was AAA plus. Now we're AAA.
We are AA down. We've been downgraded twice.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Now, not only that,
but now underneath that is a D, from what I hear, right? Not an A, but it goes. I think.
Yeah, it keeps. Yeah, but anyway, we're already there. We made the deal. We said we can take on unlimited debt. There is no debt ceiling. Everything's good, right? Except that China degraded us or downgraded us.
Uh-oh.
Even though we passed the deal. So everybody was so scared of.
The Chinese?
The Chinese downgraded us.
The communists?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got downgraded again, guys. Again. Not only that, but if you guys...
I thought we were going to be okay once we raised the debt ceiling.
Well, yeah, except that, it kind of works the same way, guys. When you take on more debt, your credit score goes down, right? Not up. Why in the hell would anybody think that if we take on more debt, our credit's going to go up? That makes no sense. All right? But people bought the lie.
Right.
The Republicans caved. We got the increase where we actually have no debt limit now until, what is it, February, right?
No, it's after the holidays. I think it's in January.
Yeah, January. Yeah, you're right. So we've got...
And we're going to have this whole conversation all over again.
Oh, yeah. It's the end.
That's right.
I won't torture you guys with my voice. Yeah. So yeah, we take on the debt. We give Obama the blank check that he asked for, and now we're still downgraded. What the hell?
Yeah.
For once, something happened that makes sense.
Well, speaking of the Chinese, there's something that I guess is really popular there in China, in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And you might want to take a look at this.
Well, before you go to that, I want to point that out because I want to end with that one. And I've got one more thing here. I wanted to point that out, that we got downgraded, and now I'm going to point out one funny thing just to kind of lighten the mood here, guys. This is actually quite sad, though, too. It's actually quite scary that we're that stupid here in America. Somebody, now granted, this is disgusting, somebody peed in a reservoir in Portland, Oregon. Okay? So what do? They shut off the entire city's water supply, and they vent millions of gallons of water because somebody peed in the water.
Wow.
Now.
And I hear that urine's actually very good for you. I'm just saying if...
Is that like radiation's good for you?
No,
yeah.
I'm just saying if you were on, let's say, on a ship in the middle of the ocean and you had no other supply of water, they say that you can survive.
Actually, it's exactly the opposite. If you drink too much of your own pee, and I've had survival training, guys. I know something about this.
Eagle Scout?
Not exactly.
Oh.
A little different than that. But anyway.
But people, I'm going to say people urinate in pools all the time.
Yeah. Well, not only that, this is a reservoir. People are going to actually drink this water. But what they fail to realize is that it's a reservoir. It's a big lake. There's fish in there. What do fish do in the water? Okay? What do the birds do in the water? What do animals do in the water? Aside from the point that, don't they filter it and chlorinate it and fluoridate it?
Actually, chlorine is a poison.
Exactly. Chlorine's actually a highly toxic.
Right.
Yeah, you should filter all that out. But yeah, it's cleaned anyway.
Yeah.
But yet, we had to shut down Portland, Oregon's water and vent millions and millions of gallons of water.
Hey, Matt, are you surprised?
No, I'm not. Because why? It's a waste of money. Just imagine. Just imagine. A million.
Let me close my
eyes
real quick.
Yeah. Close your eyes. 1 million gallons of water.
That's
now,
a lot.
I don't know. I don't know how much water costs per gallon because I never look at that bill. But let's just say 10 cents a gallon.
Okay.
How much is that?
Oh gosh, you're giving me a math equation here.
I know, and it's too late. It's actually.
Let me write down. Okay, 10,000.
It's actually
gallons,
past my bedtime, guys.
And then you've got 10 cents a gallon, and that would be how much? Let's see. Multiply that by. 10,
we're showing our stupidity when we're tired, guys.
That would probably be. Well, I want to say 100,000.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So $100,000 worth of water because somebody peed, just like the fish do.
Like we've discussed 100 times before, that government spending is out of control, and when we start actually spending money on our own elements, our own survival elements that we need for our own bodies, we should start spending money on the sun ray, the sun or the air we breathe.
Well, actually,
and I'm sure we have
in England now. I think it's England, somewhere in Europe, but I'm pretty sure it's England. They're now taxing people for solar power. If you put in solar, you can only put in
there's
a certain,
tax.
Yeah, there's a tax. They're taxing the freaking sun.
Yeah.
The sun.
I thought the sun was free.
Not anymore. It's not.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore. It's not.
The air you breathe. That's the only thing that we have free.
Oh, not for long.
Okay.
Carbon taxes. If they get those, carbon dioxide get taxed for all the carbon dioxide. What do you exhale?
Great.
And they're already doing that in Australia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got carbon taxes in Australia. Screwed them up royally.
So
anyway, yeah, let's move on to our last one. This is kind of comical, guys. We're going to close with this.
I don't know if we're gonna. Do we play the video or no?
No.
Well, you can look it up yourself if you want to. It's let's see. It's from the website cbslocal.com. It's from Los Angeles, and I guess they do some craziness there in L.A. and
they're all
California. They're all kind of brain dead over there, but. This is a new business of industry, and it's, I guess, really popular over in China and Taiwan, the theme anyway, and I guess it would be kind of an interesting concept, and I don't know if it would actually bring people into the door, but...
I sure as hell wouldn't go there.
Yeah. It's the restaurant's theme
Unless I had to go.
Is to flush with success, and basically, you walk in there and you got a menu that has some disgusting terminology when it comes down to using number 2 in the bathroom, and... Your chairs are toilets. Your plates are
urinals.
And everything
Bowls
on the menu.
Are toilets.
Everything on the menu has a term that has something to relate to number 1 or number 2. So I guess right now it's very popular in China, and they're bringing it to California. And did you pull up the article real quick?
Yeah, I put it up there for him.
It's called the Magic Restroom. If I read that correctly. And, it's kind of like, it really sets the theme for what's going on there in California. And...
Hell, the economy's in the toilet anyway. We might as well
I wish we had that sound effect for the flushing noise, That'd be great. But anyway. Yeah, I just thought I'd end on that whole idea about, flushing the economy down the toilet.
Well, that's where we're headed.
Yep. And you might want to show everybody, we got some bumper stickers if you all
Well,
know
I've
where
only
we
got,
hang out,
actually, these are already, these. I'm waiting on people to pick them up. I've got to get some more.
We can slab them here up on the wall.
These are already taken.
Oh.
I'm just waiting on people.
Are they?
Yeah, come get them. I'm out of bumper stickers. I've got a few, but I'm not going to use them because they don't have our
new banner?
Yeah, well, they don't have our what you call it here, if you can see that. That's the old... old artwork that we used, and we had our...
Well, we are in
our
HD,
URL
so they should be able to see it.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot... Maybe they can see that.
Okay.
And we're not actually in HD if they're watching live. If they're watching...
the recording?
Later. Yeah, the recorder.
All right.
The recording, it's better quality. But anyway, yeah, I'm working on getting some bumper stickers with the new artwork, guys. I like it a little better because it's higher res. This is low res, so it doesn't come out right. But
once we get money funneling in, and
but that'll come.
It'll come. And the thing is that then we can once you go into the license, and once we get into the license, then things.
Yeah, then we can do some
we
more
can do
stuff.
a lot
right
more.
now we gotta watch our P's and Q's.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we don't go to jail.
If you took a look at what we got back here as far as tables and our desks, this is just the beginning.
Well, later on, guys, when we get a better studio,
we'll show you that. We'll
release pictures of this rat hole that we're broadcasting out of.
When people say that you start your business out of a garage,
I started mine in a bedroom, a spare bedroom
with hand-me-down desks. But you know what? You put a lot of time into this, Matt.
Yeah, well,
it
is what it is.
It.
But guys, that's what we're going to do today. We just wanted to go over a few things, kind of put your mind at ease. The world was not in trouble.
And we will be back on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday at 1 o'clock.
And Chris will be here, so.
Yeah, Chris will be here, so we can argue. If you didn't catch the last show live, I'm sorry. We did get the kinks worked out. This one will be in the archive, and so will next week. But if you did catch it, The fireworks were great, and I'm sure there'll be more because there's some things that I want to discuss. So we'll see you then. Y'all have
All
a
right.
good night.
Thanks all for listening. Good night.